Colonization on Mars is one of the most talked about topics at the moment. As the populations of humans becomes ever more crowded on Earth, we always consider the possibility of moving to another planet. If it is pulled off, it would be an extraordinary feat for an intelligent life force to have accomplished in 3.5 billion years of life on Earth. This is a key big idea that has affected the 21st century and our thinking of where humans will go next as a species. This brings me on to my question, in how will humans survive on Mars? Mars is very dangerous to get to, and the long-term effects of living there can be fatal if we're not careful. Some of these dangers include radiation, where you can receive double the amount of radiation in 1 year on Mars than an entire lifetime on Earth. Growing food is also another issue due to the intense radiation itself, but also due to the toxic substances on Mars that can be fatal. For example, perchlorates. These are salts that lie on Mars and can be dangerous to the human body. Another big issue is climate. Mars has an average surface temperature of minus 80 degrees Celsius, and dust storms are a common feature to the planet's appearance. In fact, sometimes dust storms can cover the entire planet. If this were to happen, then it would have a severe impact on our intake of vitamin D, and it will also affect our ability to breathe. This leads me on to my next point, the philosophical problems that could arise. One key dilemma is the idea of subjecting the Martians to abnormal and sometimes lethal environments on Mars. If the mission was successful in getting the Martians to Mars, the real problem will be the environmental impacts it would have on their bodies. If those Martians did eventually die on Mars, it would not only be a great loss to the project, as millions of dollars would have been spent on this project, but the Martians who died up there would have died for something that would have been a rushed process. Maybe instead of business and revenue first, we need to consider the safety first, the most important factor so that the Martians do not die during the process. Another question that could be raised is what gives us the right to colonize another planet? What gives us the right to leave the planet that we developed on as a species and go find a new one to inhabit? And this will mean that we will likely have to destroy any form of Martian life that lives there. What gives us the right to do that? Despite all these challenges faced, there is still a lot of work going on to try and get to Mars as soon as possible, an example of which is Elon Musk's SpaceX company, who plan on getting a colony of people to Mars by 2024. However, Elon Musk says, and I quote, "These dates are unknown, and we are not sure that they will pan out. However, this is still closer than we think." Another relevant case study is NASA's response to SpaceX's plan, who also plan on colonizing Mars. They are planning to send a mission that will last 1,100 days before the Martians return back to Earth again. NASA's chief administrator, Charles Bolden, says, and I quote, "NASA is closer to sending American astronauts to Mars than any point in history." So in summary, the overall idea of humans leaving our planet and heading to Mars is an extraordinary conquering for mankind. Millions of years ago, the great apes would travel on their hands and feet to get to where they wanted to go. But then one day, one ape decided to stand up on its hind legs and take a step towards humanity. Through millions of years of evolution, mankind was born, creating weapons, love, war, and the most superior brain in the history of life itself. And that ape that stood up on its hind legs has now outgrown its planet and has started thinking about where to go next, and that is to settle on Mars.